This episode is brought to you by the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy, opening on November 1st. Join the waitlist and get your free PDF, the Girlfriend Roadmap Checklist, at introvertdatingsuccess.com. Stay till the end for more information. What up, IDS Mob? Welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. This is the show where you learn how to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. So this is my normal shooting day, or one of the days of the week that I shoot, and I decided, you know what? Let me go ahead and do a live show today because I can record a bunch of shows at once and then put them out through the course of the week. You can tell this is live because my dryer's on in the background. I forgot to turn that off. But anyway, so today's topic is gonna be how spending too much time with a woman in the early parts of the dating game can actually kill her attraction for you. And so I wanted to talk about this because I actually got a message from a guy. I had done a video a while back where this guy had written to me in the comments about how he had gone on 6 dates with this woman and he had kissed her each time. And then after that 6th date, things kind of just fell flat and she said she wanted to just be friends. And so he sent me more details about the actual timeline of their dates. And I want to talk about that because I think it's something that a lot of men aren't really aware of. You know, we get in our feelings very early on when we meet a woman and we think, oh my God, she's gonna be the one for me. I have to communicate all the time and be around her as much as possible. And I'm gonna show you guys exactly how that can kill attraction. I'm also gonna go over another scenario that I found on a Reddit forum where this guy posted up 2 messages. One was about how should he proceed with a woman because he met her at a bar and they had a good rapport and talked for a long time. And then when he tried to get on an actual date, he got the let's just be friends speech and he doesn't know why that happened. And I know this because I've experienced that plenty of times in my life and I want to talk about that. So we're gonna get into all that today. But first, I want to give you guys a dating tip of the day. This is something that I think is very, very important for you as men to know, all right? And it's this, is that in terms of getting a woman to follow you and see you as the leader and want to get down with your program, the easiest way that that's going to actually happen is for you to do 2 things. Is 1, to get your money up, and 2, to get your social skills up. It's a very, very important tip, okay? Because here's the thing, women will get with your program and they are looking for you to lead the relationship. But that's only gonna be if she's able to trust you and feel safe and secure with you. And so there are a lot of broke dudes out there that can't seem to understand why women don't wanna get with their program. And it's not even about having to have hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars, but it's the fact that realistically, having money brings some sense of security to the relationship. If something happens to her, she knows that bills can be paid, whether it's hospital bills or your home bills, and you're able to take her out. You're able to help get a house. You're able to find a place for her to live. And so money on some level is always going to be important in a relationship, but a lot of guys get in their feelings because they don't have a lot of money and they don't understand why women won't date them. And so they call them gold diggers or say you're just about the money. And again, that's not it. But realistically, guy, you're going to look better on the front end of things if you come in having your situation secure by having at the very least some kind of job or some kind of entrepreneurial venture that regularly has money coming in. This is going to be a thing that women across the board are going to want. Now, you might meet that woman who, when you're dead broke, she still loves you for you and wants to be with you. That's all well and good. But a part of her is doing that with the future intention of thinking he has the potential to eventually make the kind of money that we're gonna need in order to sustain ourselves and have security, all right? So even with a woman that's dating you when you're broke, she's not assuming this is gonna be a long time thing. Most women that date dudes that are broke see potential in them to be able to earn more later, all right? So just know that going in. So this is why back in the day, and even now, rappers rap about this all the time, but there was a song by the Lox called Money, Power, Respect, where it went, first you get the money, then you get the MFing power. After you get the power, MFers will respect you. And that's very, very true. So as a young man, if you're in your 20s, don't make the mistake that a lot of guys make, which is, I wanna focus on getting women, focus on relationship. You need to be doing 2 things. You need to be trying to get yourself into a position where you can have the kind of job or the kind of trajectory that is going to allow you to earn the kind of money that you need, so that way women will barely have a second thought about having to date you. If you're broke, women have to really second guess, okay, if he's broke, we're not gonna be able to go out a whole lot, he doesn't have a car, am I willing to sacrifice X, Y, and Z? But if you have money coming into it, that is now one less thing that she has to worry about. So then from there, the other thing she's going to have to worry about is, okay, great, he has money, but does he actually have social skills? Does he have the means to like keep up a conversation? Can he say things that are flirty and funny and can attract me? And so while you're broke and you're focusing on getting your money together, also start studying up on what are the things that women find attractive about men and what they find attractive in general that gets them attracted to certain men, okay? So this is like studying up on how to be funny, studying up on how to carry on a conversation, how to do openers, how to do cold approaches, how to do things that when you're in a conversation with a woman are going to intrigue her or build mystery or make her think about you longer. And these are going to be important because that's going to be a skill that never goes away. Like your money's going to fluctuate, but when it fluctuates, you still need to be able to have the capacity to actually attract this woman and keep her interested in what you're saying. You need to be studying up on like things that are going on in the world, news articles, do things that make you look like you are a learned man of the world, as well as one that can keep up a conversation. And especially if you're introverted, I know this can be a hard thing because it can be a very hard thing to motivate yourself to go out there and talk to people you don't know, or you might be thinking like, why am I learning all these social skills? I want to mostly not talk anyway or be to myself. Well, if you're an introvert that's trying to date, I can assure you, even if you date a woman who's an introvert, at some point, she's going to want to talk, she's going to want to go out, and if you don't have those skills, you could have all the money in the world, but it's not going to keep her around. Look at like the billionaires just in the last 2 years that have lost their wives because they didn't really have like the social skills or capacity to keep a relationship going. Yes, they were able to get a lot of money, but they weren't able to make their wives happy. Because again, the money's gonna be great in terms of being able to get you in the door and make her feel secure in terms of her lifestyle. But if she doesn't feel that genuine connection is continuing beyond that with your conversation, then ultimately you're going to lose out. So yes, fellas, very important. If you want a woman to get with your program, get your money together, get your social skills. If you have money, she's going to be less doubtful about you being a leader, and she's more apt to just go along with the flow. Like when I was dating broke in my 20s, it was very hard to get a woman to like do the things I wanted to do or to like not do without some kind of negotiations going on. At the point where I've been able to make money and be able to sustain myself, now I can literally make all the plans for everything. I never get questioned. I don't get pushback because A, I can afford to do things that I'm suggesting, and also because that security is there, which means that trust is there. And the more a woman trusts you, the more she's willing to go along with your program without any kind of question or concern. So concentrate on that first, guys, and I promise you the results that you're going to get in terms of being able to keep a woman around long-term are going to be greatly increased. All right. So that's my dating tip for the day. Now let's get on to the meat of the program, which is how spending too much time with a woman early on can actually kill her attraction for you. So I want to start out with this Reddit post that I saw, because this guy had two posts. He had one where he was trying to figure out why this woman lost interest, and then the second post where the woman actually wrote him back and told him that she just wanted to be friends. And he couldn't understand what it was that caused that to happen. I've been enough of these scenarios to look at this and be like, as soon as he told me, in the first paragraph that I read of this thing, I was like, I already know why this guy lost, all right? So let's go. And by the way, my program that's coming out, the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy, this is an example of like one of the things that get covered in one of the audios or videos that you can see in there, where we talk about the importance of being able to create mystery and to create her desire to want to see you versus always being able to see you or be around you. Because a lot of men kill that part of it for women. Like women need to feel like they want to see you, but if you're constantly in front of their face, or if you're giving too much of yourself too early on, then that need and desire to see you again at a later time, more than that one time, is going to rapidly decrease. So let's get into this guy's situation, and I'll stop in parts to give my commentary. So he says, how should I proceed? So he's 33 and this woman was 35, right? He says, I went out the other night and unexpectedly met a really great girl. We talked at the bar for multiple hours, then sat in her car for a few more hours after the bar closed. We talked for nearly 5.5 hours, and she and I both expressed interest and attraction. We said we wanted to get together again and plan to do this plan to go on a date this Thursday, but we didn't lock down anything specific. So already this guy's made a bunch of mistakes just in the telling of that first paragraph, that if you're not used to dating or haven't dated for a long time, or even if you've dated for a long time but are constantly getting negative results, you might not be aware this is the thing that's messing you up, right? So let's go through it, okay? So first part, we talked for nearly 5.5 hours. No. The problem here is that you are overextending and overindulging her in your presence. If you meet a girl out and about, say you're at a bar or at a party, and you meet her early on and you guys start talking and you start to get a sense that she's being attracted to you, which you can normally tell because they'll start laughing at your jokes or laughing at things that aren't really funny, or they'll start, casually touching you here and there. At the point that you get these little small signals here and there that you can tell she's starting to like you, don't do what most guys do, which is, oh, she likes me. I want to continue this conversation on and see where this goes. Because you can only be there for so long before it starts to go from, I'm having a good time with this guy, oh, this guy's interesting because he's new to me, to like, okay, this is overkill. Okay, he's still talking. Okay, like I want to go home, but I don't want to be rude to him. So now I got to keep talking here to now I'm no longer interested. All right. So you got to cut out before her interest cuts out. And I know you're probably thinking, well, Harry, if she's going to eventually be disinterested with my presence, then wouldn't it make sense to stay there and talk to her long enough for that to happen? And again, this is how you don't understand the psychology of how attraction works, okay? It's kind of like, think about like movie previews, right? Think about like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all right? They teased the Avengers happening at the end of Iron Man 1. And then we had to wait like 3 or 4 years before we actually got that first team up, all right? And then at the end of that first team up, we got a tease for Thanos and had to wait another like 6 years before we got to see him as the big baddie on screen, all right? But what did that do in that time? All it did was build anticipation. They'd show a little bit of, oh, there's gonna be an Avengers initiative, and then boom, they go away. And then another movie, oh, there's gonna be an Avengers thing, boom, go away. And then 4 years later, they made like the highest grossing at the time ever, because at that time, we had 4 years of buildup because they would give us these little teasers here and there about eventually getting this movie that we wanted, all right? And so the same is true in dating with women. You don't want to give her the full movie on that first meetup. You give her the preview that gives her indication that she's going to want to see more of this movie later on. And so what this guy did, what he should have done, rather, is that he meets her at the bar. They're having good rapport. He notices, oh my God, she's starting to be attracted. This is when you eject. You say, hey, crap, you know what? I got to go to work in the morning. I got something I got to do, whatever. So it was nice talking to you. Real quick, let me get your number. You hand her the phone. You don't ask for the number, because that's another psychological thing that we talk about extensively in the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy, all right? But anyway, you hand her your phone and you get the number and say, it was nice meeting you, and you leave. Things you don't say. Oh my God, I hope I'm getting to see you again. Oh my gosh, I'd love to go on a date with you. Another thing you don't say, which he said here, he said, she and I both expressed interest and attraction. You don't do that, all right? Because here's the thing. Women have guys that are constantly hitting them up, expressing that they're attracted. It is nothing new to a woman to hear this. So you saying it doesn't make her feel all the tingly and feels, right? But you not saying it makes her wonder now in her head if you find her attractive. Because she'll be thinking, gee, I mean, he talked to me, he asked my number, but like, does that mean that he actually really liked me? Is he gonna call me? How does he feel about me? I don't know. And it's sad to say, guys, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. Ambiguity early on in the dating phase for women can actually cause them to have an increase in attraction for you. The less they know about your feelings or what your motivation is going to be or what you're going to actually do with their information, the better chance you have of increasing your interest without you having to be there. Like, because none of that is not ethical. I think a lot of guys think that if they don't tell the woman that he likes her, or if he doesn't call her or text her right away, it's this unethical thing and it's game playing. It's not. It's called being patient and leaving her alone to her own wiles to be able to decide on her own accord how she's feeling, what those feelings mean, and if they indicate that she's attracted to you. More often than not, the more you leave her alone, the more likely that her feelings are going to rule in your favor. So you don't have to tell the woman early on, hey, I really like you, let's go out. Or hey, I think you're so attractive, we should do something. Like, none of those things need to be said. And also, very important too, women read into your moves and what you're saying 3 times more than you intend it to be. So when you say to a woman verbally, hey, I really like you, it reads more as like, I like you. I'm already obsessed with you. I don't want any other women. And if she hasn't gotten to that point where she feels those things, but she's feeling them from you, she is more likely to bail. So this is why actions are more important, because if you do a certain action, she's going to already read 3 times more into it. So if you say, hey, let me get your number, you don't have to spell out for her explicitly because I like you, because I want to take you out. You asking for the number, it's going to give her an idea that you probably want to go out with her and that you probably like her. But you not verbally expressing it makes her wonder about if that's true and if it's going to actually happen. And again, her trying to guess at that is going to be in your favor. Also, he said, we wanted to get together again and plan to go on a date this Thursday, but we didn't lock down anything specific. Guys, so I don't recommend when you're meeting a woman for the first time and you find out that you like her, you want to get, take her out, that you ask her out that first time. I just don't. Like, that's never been my MO. I have found I've typically aired better when I get the number, wait a few days, and then call her for an event. All right. So, but here's the thing. If you're going to go that route, you don't say, hey, let's go out Thursday. And then she says, okay, great. And then you say, fantastic. Let's set it up later. If you're going to set a date and time for the future, you set everything up on that first meeting or on that first call. You do not say, let's go on a date and then set a day and then say, we'll figure out the details later. You should already have details in mind. You should already have 3 to 5 places set in stone that you can take a woman to on a first date. It ain't got to be extravagant. It could be a local coffee shop you like. It could be a restaurant that serves like tapas or cheap little foods or whatever like that. But the point is, you should already, if you're going to ask, you should already have a place in mind. Hey, I know this cute little spot in this corner. We should check this out sometime. I think they got these really good burritos or got really good coffee. Like, we should check that out. Let me know if you're free Thursday at 7 or 8, whichever works best for you. Like, very, very simple, all right? Always set the date when you're asking her the first time. In sales, my uncle taught me a long time ago in sales, when you're at the people's house and they've said yes to a sale, you sign the contract there. You don't say, great, I'm going to come back in a few days with a contract, because that gives them time to start overthinking about things, trying to figure out what this purchase actually means and adding meaning to it that wasn't initially there. And then when you come back around, all of a sudden it's like they don't want to buy the thing anymore. Same with a woman. You say you want to go on a date, and then you try to bring up a date again later, but while you're waiting and you bring it up later, now she's thinking, what does this date mean? Why is he putting so much emphasis on it? Does this mean he really likes me at a high level? And so you want to dead all that. Ask, if you're going to ask, get all the details and lock this date down that first time, and you won't have to worry about her backpedaling later, more often than not. Anyway, he says, this was a few days ago, and I texted her yesterday, just basically trying to start up a conversation, but she never responded. And so he says later on, the conversation he tried to start, I guess when she gave him her number, the text was a joke about her number that she put in my phone at the time, and she said jokingly that it wasn't real. And then so he texted her saying, the follow-up text on that Sunday, 12 hours later, mind you, he said, oh man, sure wish this number was real. The girl I met last night was really cool. Now, he's thinking, that's just a little jokey text. It's referencing something we talked about last night, and it's no big deal. But guys, and I've talked about this on the show too, is that women ultimately don't want bullcrap text. They don't want you to just send them text just to be texting or to try to start a conversation with them. Like, I know it sounds like a thing that women want you to do, and women may have expressed to you in the past, well, if a guy doesn't text me, blah, 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 blah. But what they're talking about are men that they're already in relationships with. If you're in a relationship with a woman, then yes, you want to occasionally send a text to say, hey, babe, how's your day going, yada, yada, yada. But during the dating phase, that is not necessary. During the dating phase, the only reason that you text a woman specifically is to get that date. That's it. That's all you're using it for. You do not, let me say this again, you do not frivolously text a woman just to have a random conversation. The women that I've talked to typically get annoyed by that from the guys that are trying to show interest, because they're working, they have other things going on. And then what happens is most men will text these women and they don't have the means to get to their phone or respond back right away. And then they start sending these follow-up texts. Why aren't you texting back? Is everything okay? Are you mad at me? What's going on? And now they're painting themselves as a guy that went from being the confident guy that they met up with initially to this worrisome, needy guy that is no longer attractive to them. All right? So save your text for if you're going to text them, the thing you should be texting them is like, hey, so let's set up for Tuesday. Hey, great date idea. Let's do this and that. That's the only reason you should be texting them. You ain't got to try to build up extra rapport with a woman that's already given you her phone number. Trust me, you don't need to do that. A simple call or text to say, hey, just wanted to touch up to figure out that date day, so let's go this day and time. And again, when you make that call and that text, you should already have all the details because women do not want to plan dates. They don't. So when you call her up or text her again, you call her or text her saying, hey, I've already got a restaurant. You said Thursday works. Let's do Thursday. Let me know if 7 or 5 works for you, whichever works best. That's it. You make all those plans, okay? But yeah, this texting just to text, stop that, guys, okay? It's not necessary. So he says, she gave me an actual number, and the message I sent wasn't anything specific, and I know she was at work when I sent it. Why? If you knew she was at work, why would you text her knowing full well she can't respond to you? It's dumb. I stopped myself from repeatedly texting people without getting anything from them, so I feel like her lack of response is my cue to just let it go. We talked and laughed and really seemed to have a great time, so I don't want to just say forget it, unless, of course, I know she isn't actually interested. But here's the thing, guy, is that you gave away all that valuable get to know you time and laughing and talking time, thinking that if you spent these 5 or 6 hours with her, that was going to be enough to really solidify her feelings, and thinking that you needed to spend more time with her in order to have that happen. But again, early on, you want to give yourself sparingly to these women. So you met her at the bar, should have been like a 45-minute conversation tops. Hey, I got to go real quick. Let me get your number. Okay, great. Nice meeting you. Bye. You leave. When you get the date, that first date shouldn't be more than 90 minutes, 2 hours max. You take it to a nice little food spot. You have some talky, eat. If you are able to turn that into a hookup, then the date goes a little bit longer. Fantastic. But in order to hedge your bets and increase the probability of this woman liking you long term, you want to really, basically you're trying to make her earn your time. So in those first couple of dates, if you're giving away 5, 6, 7, 10 hours of your time, the probability of her continuing to be attracted to you is going to be very, very low. Whereas if you spread it out to where, you see her and then you take her out for like 1 or 2 hours and then you take her home, you go home yourself, and then you wait another couple of days to contact her, hit her up again, ask her out for the next week, only take her out like once a week in the beginning, then what's happening is as she spends time with you, she's liking you more, and she of her own accord is going to start to want more of your time, at which point she will start asking for more of your time versus you freely giving it out. And you want her to do that because you want her to come to you and say, hey, I want more of your time. Hey, can we see each other again? I know we only see each other once a week, but I want to take you up this extra day. At that point, she's chasing you. And as I always tell you guys, if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. But what happens when you look like you're chasing? When you're trying to spend all these extra hours with her and all of a sudden you try to text her and she's not responding, what is that doing to her attraction level? Well, let's read this guy's follow-up. So, gave you the story, met at a bar, talked for 5.5 hours. They agreed to go on a date but didn't set anything in stone. And now he texted her and he heard nothing back. That was Sunday, right? So, he says that she disappeared. I didn't hear from her until last night at 4 a.m., which was 5 days later. So he sent this text on Sunday. This was posted up, I think, yesterday. So 5 days later, she texted him back. So already, if she's waiting that long to respond to your text, guys, assume that she's not interested. Unless she says, I was on a work retreat, I was with family, I was sick and had C19. Other than that, it's a no-go, right? So she says, I'm sorry for not responding. I'm just not ready for dating. I don't know. We can be friends if you're up for it. I'm just not mentally ready for the dating aspect of it all. So we know what that means, right, guys? Not interested, because women that are interested are definitely ready to date. But when a woman says, I'm just not ready for dating, what that means is she's not ready for dating you. They leave that part out because it sounds rude. And saying that she's not ready for dating is, to women, a plausible excuse that most men are going to believe. Like, oh, it's not you. It's just that, my life right now, like, yeah, I'm 35 and yeah, I don't have anybody in my life and I want to have kids someday and I should be concentrating on dating and finding the love of my life. But just, I'm not concentrating on dating right this minute. Does that sound logical? Does that sound like a logical thing a 35-year-old woman would say? Because I'll tell you now, I have women friends that are 35 plus that may say that to a guy, but around me, it's, I can't find anybody. I wish I could find somebody to date. Oh, I can't find a guy that suits me. Why am I still single? What is it about me? So women aren't out here at 35 trying to stay single, but they're going to tell you that if they don't want to date you. And again, it's fine. It's a lie they've come up with because they want to try to lessen the blow, and I actually admire them for it. But as a guy, you got to know what that means. What that means is that she's not interested in you. Because if a guy came along that, had himself set up the right way, looked the way that she wanted him to look, sounded the way that she wanted him to sound, there would be no pushback about this dating thing, okay? But more to the point, also, you burned out her interest in you in that 5.5 hours. You left nothing for mystery to chance. And then at the point where you text her, you didn't text her to ask for a date. You texted her to try to start a conversation up again and to re-flirt with her and to tell her how great she was and try to compliment her. And as much as you think those are things that are going to keep women around long term, for a woman that you just start dating, those things aren't necessary. Over-complimenting, overly spending time with her, these are not things that actually cause women to continue to like you. It can cause them to feel like you're doing too much too soon and cause burnout of her feelings or any potential attraction really fast, just like this woman. So he says, on the surface, I totally get it. We jumped into talking about going on a date within hours of meeting each other, and we were both drinking. So yeah, the drinking thing is definitely a thing that can, alter the way a woman feels about you, because she could look later and be like, oh my God, I had beer goggles on and I didn't know that he was really not the way I wanted him to look. Or it could just be that, again, you spent too much time, so you burnt out any mystery that she would have had, and now you're no longer an interesting subject to her. And then it's funny how guys don't look at how they position themselves. Like, I don't know what they talk about in that 5 hours, but when you start saying things like, oh, you're attractive, oh, I find you interesting too, oh, we'd be so great together, blah, 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 blah. None of those things make women attracted. Like I said, it just makes them feel as though you've already come to the conclusion that she's the one you're choosing. And if she does not feel that, then that can scare her off or make her feel suddenly less attractive, because now it goes from, I'm going to choose to try to be attracted to this guy, to, oh, this guy's already said he's attracted to me, I guess I should be attracted also. But that can subconsciously feel like a forced thing. And women don't want to be made to feel like they're being forced into being attracted to you. So this is why you don't say early on, oh, I really find you attractive, or, oh, I think we should be together. Because if she's not there, it's making her feel like you're forcing that on her versus it being her choice, all right? So then he says, I did not go out with the intent of any of this happening, and I've been taking a break from dating for a while now, as I've got 2 jobs and a business plus kids. So her saying this is cool, and I appreciate her reaching out and apologizing for not responding. But now I'm wondering if I should still even ask her to hang out. We were supposed to go on a date tonight. Or if she was just politely saying something like, no thanks, and I don't want to hang out, without saying, I don't want to hang out. Anytime a woman tells you that she's down to just be friends, that is another example of her trying to lessen the blow that she's not interested in you, but she doesn't want to come off as the bad guy and say, and I'd never want to see you again because I don't find you attractive. So what they'll do is say, hey, we can just be friends, thinking to herself, well, if he hears that and he's not cool with friendship, then he'll be the one to say, oh, that's cool. I wanted to date you and you don't want to date me. So let's just, whatever. That way you can come across as the bad guy instead of her. But trust me, women that are telling you, hey, we should just be friends, and you've just met them for the first time, they're not trying to be your friend. Women have enough male orbiters and ideally female friends in their lives. At 30, especially this woman being 35, she doesn't need to add on more male friends. She's telling you that because she doesn't want to go out with you and doesn't want to hurt your feelings. But you as a guy got to recognize that when women say these things, it's not meant to hurt your feelings. And yes, it's a lie. So you might be thinking, why don't they just tell me I don't want to see you? Women have a lot more to worry about in terms of men harming them in a wide variety of ways. We're stronger, we're more muscular. And if we have a temper and go off on them, it could be the end of their lives. So they're going to try to say stuff that allows them to soften the blow while almost like sneaking away from you. But just so you just as a guy have to know, women are going to lie to you when they're not interested. That's their way of trying to keep themselves safe. It's a sucky part of the dating game, but it is what it is. But to the point, all this to say, this is the first example I'm talking about when you give too much of your time early on. You're thinking you're doing that because you want her to really know you and feel you and see if you can spend a lot of time together so that way she can get a better idea of what you two would be like in a relationship. And I'm telling you, you need to spread yourself thin when you first start dating, because the anticipation of seeing you is going to be your best ally versus you being there all the time and her not being able to build any anticipation and thereby losing attraction for you very, very quickly, all right? And again, this is stuff that we go over extensively in my Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy, which is launching on November 1st. If you're interested in that and you want to figure out how to actually improve your dating lifestyle so that way you won't make these kind of mistakes, then go there, sign up for the wait list. When you do, you'll get my free PDF called the Girlfriend Roadmap Checklist, which acts as a 3-month blueprint of how you should be and what you should be doing during those first 3 months to go from just dating her to in a relationship, okay? Again, go to the website, introvertdatingsuccess.com, and sign up for that program that's coming out on November 1st. Now, on to the next example of spending too much time with women. So, in this previous example, we talked about the guy where he spent that first night with her for hours on end and it ultimately caused her to lose interest. So now we're going to talk about a guy that over the course of 2 weeks went from dating a woman and her being highly interested to her ultimately no longer being interested. And in the process of these 2 weeks, you're going to see a lot of stuff that he did wrong. That's going to hopefully help you out to see how it is that he was messing this up, all right? And so we'll just start off. And this is the update from a guy that I did a video earlier where I answered a question of a guy who had gone on 6 dates with a woman and just made out with her, but didn't progress further beyond that. And then she ended up losing interest. And so in that video, I talked about how as the guy, if you're not starting to make moves that indicate you want to move things to the bedroom, even a woman that is highly interested in you is looking for you to give those indicators first, because women have to deal with being labeled as a SLOT or too loose or all these other things. And so even if a woman wants to do stuff, she's going to hint or give indications that indicate that she wants you to start making indications that indicate that you guys want to do some stuff, all right? And so she's going to ultimately leave it in your hands to start showing those signals. And a lot of guys get freaked out by that. Because you might think, well, you might be on a date with a woman and think, well, I want to invite her back to my place, but oh my God, I don't want to think I'm just about, sex. Well, women, for one, like it also, but also, even if you're worried that she's going to think that, most women already assume that guys want that, okay? But if you're taking her out on a date and showing her a good time, she can at least feel in her head subconsciously, well, yeah, he probably wants to hook up, but also he's paying for dinners, he's taking me out, this is a nice enough guy, it is what it is. And so she's going to expect at some point you're going to start making moves that indicate you want to go to the bedroom. It's just an expectation women have. When you don't live up to that expectation, women can start thinking other things you don't want them to think, like, is he gay? Does he not find me attractive? Is he hooking up with other girls, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is why you always want to eventually at some point, like by the second date at least, start just putting suggestions out there. Hey, let's go back to my place. Or hey, why don't you come over and we can watch Netflix and chill. Now, she's in her right to say no to these things. She can say, not tonight, I'm good. But even if she rejects the offer, you still got to put the offer out there and just not be butthurt when she says no, because eventually she'll say yes. But if you don't put the offer out there, how is she going to know that you want to eventually get to that step or that you're already ready for that? Because what will happen is this. Let's say you go on a date with a woman, you have a good time, and then at the end you say, hey, let's go back to my place, and she says no. You're thinking that's a fail. But what's happening in her head is she might not have expected that offer to happen, and she's not sure if she's ready for that step. She's not sure if she has the right underwear on. Does she smell good? Is it that time of the month for her? Would she have done her hair and stuff differently had she known that she was going to get that offer? But now that the offer's on the table, now when you go on that next date, she knows, okay, I got to have my hair done a certain way. I got to make sure that it's not that time of the month. I got to make sure I have little sexy things on or whatever so I can fully put myself out there for this guy. Because that's what guys don't get. Guys think every rejection that they get means that something's never going to happen. And what I'm here to tell you is that if you're getting a rejection the first time you ask a woman for a hookup, it could be a bunch of other reasons why. She could very well like you and be just as horny and ready to jump you, but women sometimes have to be in a certain headspace to be able to go to the bedroom. And if they weren't prepared to be in that headspace that day, because up to this point, there was no indicator you wanted to go to the bedroom, then she's getting thrown off her element, okay? So women sometimes need time to prepare. So let them, if you put that out there on the table, she knows that that's now an element that's out there that she's gotta be ready to be prepared for, because she might wanna do it also, but she has to be fully ready both mentally and physically and sexually in order to take that step. All right, so that's what I talked about in the previous video. But he gave me more details about like the 6 dates that they went on, and looking at the timeline of his dates and also how his behavior started to change, you can start to see how this all affected her interest. Let's go ahead and get into his stuff, right? So he says, I'm the guy that went on 6 dates. Here's the story in more detail. We talked for a while on Facebook, and when I felt she was interested, I asked her out. Now, this part's very important, right? Because if he's talking to her on Facebook and just doing text or whatever, he's painting a picture of himself to this woman in a certain light. And the thing about women is this, is that however you initially present yourself, that always needs to line up with her actual in-person perception of you. So I can assume through conversation, he probably came off as a confident guy. Great. If you are not consistently confident throughout the course of dating her, she's going to start to get a misread about you and think that maybe you aren't the guy that she initially met, and she can start to lose interest. And as you're going to see throughout the course of his story, that starts happening, and she starts losing interest, aside from like the time frame. So I'm going to tell you, you're going to get to see what the time frame of this dating venture was, all right? So he says, the first date was on August 21st. It ended with a kiss on the cheek, and she said, quote, "You want to continue, right?" That's a great thing, by the way, because what does that indicate? It indicates that she wasn't sure of herself. They had such a good time that she kissed him, and she said, "So can we see each other?" And that's where you want things to be. What you don't want at the end of the day is for you as the guy to be like, "Well, I had a good time. Well, I hope you like me too. I mean, I'm probably not like other guys you normally date, and I hope I did a good enough job," because that does not exude confidence. But if you exude confidence on that first date, women are going to be like, "Oh my God, I've never dated a guy that's this confident. He seems so assured of himself. He made the plans for the date. He knew where he wanted to take me. He made me laugh during the whole time. He didn't seem intimidated by me. Oh my God, like I never meet guys like this. I might not meet a guy like this again." And now we're at the end of the date, and he's not saying that he wants to take me out again. He's not saying, "I hope we see each other soon." I got to put myself out there now. So this is how first dates should end, with the woman basically saying, "Hey, I want to see you again," and you not giving any indicators that that's going to actually happen. Because again, anticipation, the more anticipation that there is, and the more she doesn't quite have an idea of what your moves are going to be, the more likely it is going to increase her attraction tenfold. Trust me, women will lie and say that's not true. As a guy that's dated a lot of women, I can tell you, when you don't give them the entirety of what your plan is or what your feelings are, the result is their feelings for you and their attraction for you skyrockets so freaking high and at a very fast rate, all right? So August 21st was the first date, right? Let's see, at the second date, which was August 25th, so that's 4 days later. That's a little soon, but that's usually about, I tell you guys, you want to wait an average of 4 days before you ask women out on that second date. So this is still within the timeline of that. Pretty good. And this is one where she suggested it. So this is what I tell you guys, after that first date, you don't want to be the one just reaching out to her, because you want to see if she's built enough interest off that first date to reach out to you. You already know you're interested, and you already know you're going to probably call her for another date in a span of 4 to 5 days, right? But if she reaches out to you, it's even more powerful and a higher indicative read of where she's at in her feelings. Women that are reaching out to you have at least a 70 to 75% interest already. The goal is to try to get to 90. Rest in peace, Stock Love. He came up with that system. The goal is to get a woman's interest rate to 90% tops, right? So if a woman's reaching out to you, asking you for dates, that's in the 70s range. That's a very good place to be this early on in the dating process, all right? This is why I always tell you guys, women are actually ones that chase, because it's a rarity for them to find a man that they are actually interested in. It's fine for them. They have offers coming in all the time, but rarely are they interested in those offers. So when they find a guy that they see as high value or makes them feel good, makes them laugh, is trustworthy, they're going to chase after you because you are a rarity, sir. Anyway, she says, at the second date on August 25th, she asked me to go to a concert, front row seat at a cathedral. Her mom was sitting next to us, but she didn't introduce us. We kissed at the end. So here's where the problems start, guys. You should not be meeting a woman's friends or family at the minimum for the first 6 months. Like, real talk. Unless it's the thing where like she lives with her parents or she's got an elderly parent living with her or whatever, then it's perfectly fine to make that exception. But for the most part, you meeting family and friends early on, it gives a subconscious indicator that the relationship situation is far more serious than it needs to be at this phase. It's only date 2. Now you're thinking, but Harry, she suggested the date. You got to understand, women aren't always aware of the things that they're doing that could actually sabotage their interest in you. And this is one of those things. Her inviting this guy to go to a concert where her mom's going to be, it subconsciously is putting out there, this is already what I consider to be a serious relationship. But a woman needs 2 to 3 months to solidify her feelings and really be fully assured that this is the guy, that you are the guy that she wants to see. So if she hasn't had the time to do that, she could be thinking, it's no problem if he meets my friends or family, but she's not aware that that is self-sabotaging her interest in you. So when this kind of thing comes up, guy, early on, you got to be like, hey, you know what? I'm busy that night, or, oh, I got something else going on. Or you'd be like, hey, you know what? Like, I'd really like to do that, but honestly, I kind of want to wait until we've really dated some more before I start meeting friends and family. Like, you're in your right to say that and feel that, you know? And because that's going to give you a higher probability of her interest rising in you versus you being around her parents and her friends and family, whatever, and it seeming like it's too serious, and then her feelings for you taking a nosedive, which I've had happen, and I've seen happen far too many times, all right? But anyway, so the first date was August 21st, second date, August 25th. At the third date on August 27th, so this is 2 days later, she said she was in the mood for some, I think it's Aperol Spritz. I think that's alcohol. I don't drink everything like that. But anyway, I took it as a sign that she was relaxing around me, but I only kissed her at the beginning and end of the date. I was intimidated by her intellect. In parentheses, he says, she is a teacher and I'm a factory worker, although I have finished law school. I told her that I messed up by not kissing her more. All right, so this is where things start to tumble. So for starters, he had another date with this woman 2 days after the previous date and 6 days after the first date. So in the span of a week, they have now gone out 3 times. Gentlemen, that is way too many times early on in the dating process to be taking a woman out on dates. You're not allowing her to spend time with herself, to think about those previous dates, to really get in her feelings about how she felt on those dates and what those feelings mean. You haven't given her time to talk to her girlfriends about this great guy that she's seeing and how she can't wait to see him again. And you haven't given her time to wonder about what the heck you're doing when she's not around. Why aren't you contacting her? Why aren't you asking her on a date? What are you doing? Could you potentially be seeing other women? Maybe you didn't find her as attractive. What's going on? All these questions in her head, if you allow them to happen, will only cause her interest in you to increase and to be a lot stronger. But when you're accepting these dates, and again, to be fair, she's the one asking for these dates early on, but the thing is that you have to know what's going to be best for her timeline in order to better attract her, in order for her to feel more attraction to you sooner. And so if she's asking on these dates every other day, you might think, oh, that's so great, but dude, you got to turn down some of this stuff. Like early on, you should be going on 1, no more than 2 dates a week max. If you get to that third date, that third time, you need to say, hey, you know what? I'm actually busy on this such and such a day, but I'm free next week at this day or this time. Now, this might freak you out to hear that, because you're thinking, but if I reject any of her dates, then she's going to start losing interest, and then some other guy is going to come in and blah, blah, blah. And again, I'm telling you guys, for every woman out there, women out there can attest to this, right? If she's dating 3 guys and 2 of them are hitting her up every single day, you know what she's thinking about? That third guy. Because that third guy is not overly obsessive, is not giving needy behaviors, and is making her wonder about what he's doing and where he's at. So if you're doing things the right way, you cannot lose a woman's interest by making her be patient to see you. So don't be freaked out about that, and stop assuming you got to accept every single date that a woman asks you on, when the reality is she might not be aware that her asking you out every other day is going to lead to her being disinterested. You have to know that as a guy. You have to know that early on, you got to spread yourself thin. The less she sees you, the more likely that she's going to build attraction faster, versus if she sees you every day, she's going to lose interest. All right. You got to know that, because again, some women aren't going to know that, and they're going to end up screwing themselves up. But anyway, so day on the 27th, and then he said he verbalized that he should have kissed her more. Dude, you ain't got to verbalize that, because now it looks like you're apprehensive about the moves you're making, which now displays you as a guy that's not confident. You saying to a girl, gee, I probably should have kissed you a lot more. You should have just done it. Like, you ain't got to say it, just do it, okay? On top of that, though, he says, this is very important. He says, I was intimidated by her intellect. She's a teacher, and I'm a factory worker, although I have finished law school. So here's the thing, 'cause a lot of guys do this, all right? You're taking a job that she has, and you're equating that job with her also thinking, therefore, that she's better than you, or that she's on a higher level than you. And what guys need to stop doing is making this connection between this woman has this kind of job or makes this kind of money, therefore she views herself as this. Because I can tell you, there are plenty of teachers and lawyers out there that are women that go home at night and they're alone, talking to their dogs and their cats, wishing to God that some guy would come along and sweep them off their feet. And it doesn't have to do with, and I wish he had a higher position in his job than me, and I wish he made more money than me, et cetera, et cetera. No, it's, I want a guy that's going to make me feel a certain way. I want a guy that's going to allow me to laugh and that I can trust and that I can do activities with. And none of that reads off to, and also has to have this kind of job, X, Y, and Z. And so what guys do is say, well, because she's a lawyer or she's a teacher, she thinks more higher of herself and therefore I'm down here. Guy, that's all on you, because all these things are just jobs. You being a factory worker, job. Her being a teacher, job. When you guys go home from your jobs are not now going to be indicators of who you're able to get and how interested this other person is going to be in you. Because again, as I've said on shows before, there are billionaires right now that have lost wives and lost women because they don't have the social skills or they don't know how to make the woman feel that they really connect, okay? For women, more often than not, the connection is more important than the job. And so, and trust me, I've been a dude who has dated lawyers, doctors, teachers who make more money than me, but I'm at home. I'm allowed to have my free time to myself. I do the things that I want to do. And when I take them out, I treat them as best I possibly can. I take them on these great dates, but also we spend time at home just chilling around, hooking up, having some great hookups, having some great conversations, cooking dinner together. None of this stuff costs money. All I'm doing is trying to build a connection and let them see that I want to spend time with them. And for many women, that's more important than the job. But I say this to say, you should not be so intimidated by what a woman's job or status is, because at the end of the day, if she's going home alone, she actually feels like all her other girlfriends who may be homemakers but have men are higher in status than she is. And most women really don't feel like they have extra self-worth until they're in a relationship. Like, it sucks, that's how it is, because I don't think that women that are single don't have worth, but they typically view their life is not complete unless they have a man by their side that's able to compliment them and be there day to day. And so you got to stop looking at women on the scale that we look at guys and start thinking that, like, but what is that about? So she's the teacher, but you're not going to talk about teaching stuff. You're going to talk about, what makes her feel good. You're going to ride roller coasters together at amusement parks and eat ice cream together and all these things that have nothing to do with your actual status, okay? So, continuing on. So he went on the date. That was the third date. That was on the 27th. Now we're on date number 4. At the 4th date, on August 30th, we kissed again, only at the beginning, at the end. But at the end, I held her hand and we walked like that. At the end of the date, we kissed while she held my face. So you've been out on 4 dates with this woman and you have not done more than kiss her. You have not made any moves to the bedroom. More importantly, it's the 30th. Your first date was on the 21st. It's now the 30th. So you've gone on 4 dates now in the span of 9 days. That is too many freaking dates to go on in that time span. Again, you should be averaging 1, maybe 2 dates a week. This is too many. So this guy's still continuing to mess up. And what's going to start to happen now is she's going to start to be on the decline. 1, because you're not initiating hookups. And 2, because you're spending too much time together. Looking in the comments real quick here. Hey, what's up? He says, I think his name is Kabiri. He says, great topic. I highly recommend 3% Men by Corey Wayne. He speaks on this. Yes. Corey Wayne's work is actually, and a lot of those guys that have been doing this for a while, our work is based off of this guy named Doc Love, who just died, but he was a guy that very early on taught about, like, it's not important what your attraction level is. It's important what her attraction level is. Most guys are attracted after the first date. But if she's not there, then it doesn't matter what your attraction level is, because it's going to freak her out that you're already decided on her and she hasn't gotten to that point, which is why Doc Love used to teach, on average, it takes about 3 months for a woman to really fully know if she wants to be with you or not. So all you need to do as a guy for those first 3 months is show up and have a good time. But you need to be doing that by pacing it out. You don't go on 10 dates in 1 week. You go on 1 week at a time. Yes, as I always say, if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. That's so freaking true. But if you're constantly seeing her, and even again, in this case, she's asking for all these dates up to this point, you as the guy got to have a better handle on that and be able to know when to say, hey, I can't go today. I got something else came up, because you need to be aware that she may not be aware that the things she's doing that she thinks is because she's interested are going to end up self-sabotaging her feelings later. But anyway, so that was the date on the 30th. and they kissed, and then she was holding his face. So at this point, she's holding his face as if to say, dude, make a move. We can do more than kiss. It's fine. And women are going to always look for your leadership on that happening. Again, you can, put out there, you want to do some stuff. She can totally reject it, but there's a plethora of reasons why that may happen. But the point is, at least she knows it's now on the table. So if it gets offered again, she'll now be more open to it and she'll be more prepared for it. But if you make no moves at all, then she's going to start thinking, are you a eunuch? Are you gay? Do you not find me attractive? Like, what's going on? Yeah, we're kissing, but shouldn't he? Because women, and it's bad to say this, but like women throughout the years have expected men to come on to them to try to get a hookup. And you might think that's a bad thing, but it's an expectation that's there. So when you don't meet that expectation, women actually get weirded out by the fact that you're not trying to take him to the bedroom, because even though they might say, oh my God, he only wants this and that, the reality is she's expecting it at some point, and also you doing that makes her feel more so that you're attracted to her. So when you don't do it, it can start a mind F in their head where they think like, what's this guy really about? Anyway, that was August 30th. So now we go to the next date was September 3rd. We went to a movie. I didn't sleep coming from a night shift. Something was off. I planned to ask her to my place, but she seemed like she didn't want to be there. I thought I killed the mood by being tired. I tried looking her in the eyes and to flirt, and she said, what? I got completely discouraged. I knew it was over. So here's the thing, guy. This is another thing, very important, is that if you, for whatever reason, cannot show up on a date as your best self, it's perfectly fine to cancel. Like, for one, you don't have to accept every single date that a woman asks you on, but also, let's say you plan a date and then you come home and you've been tired or something came up at work that just kind of rattled you. It's perfectly fine to say to a woman, hey, you know what? I know we had a date tonight, but I've had a trash of a day. I can't make it tonight. But you always want to follow up with, but let's try again this other day. That way, she knows that even though you don't want to cancel, you still want to see her, as proof by the fact that you're putting out to see her at a future time. So as long as you do that, most women will be fine with you canceling a date here or there. But you do not show up on a date when you can't be your best self, because it's going to affect the entire mood of the date. And early on in the dating process, you cannot afford for those kind of things to happen, because early on, every single thing that you do is going to be heightened and intensified. So if you show up and you're in a bad mood, it's not just that you're in a bad mood because of work. She's going to think, is this how he's really showing up? Is this his real self? Is this how he's always going to be? And she hasn't had enough time in with you months-wise to really get a gauge of how you are on average, even though this is now their 5th date in less than 2 weeks. All right. So then that was September 3rd. And then he said the next day on September 5th, the atmosphere was even worse. At the end, I asked her if everything was okay and that I liked her. Oh, God. Okay, we'll get to that. She said everything was fine. The next morning, I got the message that it was over. So, where were the mistakes here, ladies and gentlemen? Well, for one, he tried to see her the next day. So now this is like 6 times in 2 weeks. And what's happened to her interest? It was up, 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 up. Oh, it's going down. Because the more you see a woman in the span of that 2 weeks, the more likely it is her feelings are going to start to flame out. This is why that 2-week burnout period is a real thing. Guys don't understand it. Well, we saw each other and things were going great for like 10 or 12 days, and then she lost interest. This is what we call the burnout. You saw her too many times, things started to get weird, you don't leave enough time between dates to build up things to actually talk about, so it starts to get awkward. And then to top it off, to try to save face, he tried to be like, oh, and by the way, I like you. And it's because you've been on 6 dates. So by 6 dates, that's a regular thing to feel if it had been like a date a week. But you went on a date almost every 2 to 3 days, but it's only been 2 weeks. So now in her head, she's thinking, it's only been 2 weeks, and this guy's already expressing a high interest in me. And then what happens the next time? Oh, we should just be friends. I'm not interested anymore, yada, yada, yada. And guys don't see it. Like, guys don't see it. But this is what I'm talking about how, like, when you spend an excessive amount of time with a woman early on, you think it's a good thing. It's only going to, like, burn out the interest that she has in you because you're not giving enough time to sit with herself and actually have her of her own accord build up that interest, guys. So it's very important. Yes, you like her. And even if she's the one that's initiating these dates saying, hey, let's go out today. Let's go out 2 days from now. Let's go out 2 days after that. You got to understand that if you're not pacing out how you're dating these women, this could be the major reason that you're actually losing these women, is because you're doing too much too soon, like the guys in the chat said, and you're not aware of it. She's not aware of it. All she knows is, I had a like for this guy. I don't know why I'm not liking him as much. I just know I don't feel the same anymore. But you as the guy need to know these things. You need to understand how it is women fall for a guy and what the time frame is that works best in order to make that happen. That's why I'm opening up my Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy on November 1st, because these are the kind of things you can learn in the academy. You can learn about, what kind of pacing do women need? What kind of things should you be talking about on dates? How often should you be planning dates? What kind of dates should you be planning in the first place that are going to really actually allow you to connect with her on a deeper level? And then when you're going away, when should you be texting her? When should you not be texting her? And a bunch of other things that you may not be aware of. If that's something that interests you, I highly recommend you go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, click on and sign up for the waiting list. When you do, you'll get a free PDF called the Girlfriend Roadmap Checklist, which lays out the blueprint foundation of the roadmap you'll need to best succeed with women and getting them into a relationship. Again, that's at introvertdatingsuccess.com. But anyway, guys, this has been a very long show. I'm going to chop these up into individual episodes so you can kind of go back and listen to, what was said and what was talked about. But yeah, as always, guys, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns you'd like to hear me talk about on these shows or me to answer during shows, I'm happy to do that. If anybody's got questions now, I'm on for another minute or so. I'm happy to answer questions. But yeah, this is what this platform is for, is to answer you guys' questions, to help you figure out and navigate the dating world so you can understand how women function, how we as guys function, why we oftentimes have the instinct to do things that are not in our favor for dating and what to do instead. These are things that I wish I had known about back when I was in my 20s. It took me a lot of years to learn it, but now that I know it, I want to help you guys learn that, okay? So before we go, I actually have a question in the chat. And so the question I'm getting asked is, how important is appearance? I'm assuming you mean how important is appearance to women, okay? Here's the reality, guy. He says haircuts, height, teeth, all that stuff. So here's the thing. It would be a lie to say that women overall don't find certain things about men attractive. So a man that has, the right style of haircut for his head, there's a certain height range that most women on average find pretty attractive, and teeth, ideally, they're going to look white or, at least straightened or, so those things definitely put you at an advantage, okay? But that said, here's the thing that women don't talk about. This is real talk, okay? Is that women know there's gonna be a point in their lives that their looks are gonna fall off a cliff. The most gorgeous 20-year-old woman, if she's smart, realizes at some point she's gonna start losing her looks. She can look at the women in her family and realize, okay, they're not probably the beauties that they once were. It is what it is. So even though there's a level of judgment about that could be somewhat important, what women are looking for in terms of long-term relationships are men that they can trust, that make them feel attractive and funny, and that they're a rare breed amongst men, okay? And so I think men put themselves at a disadvantage by focusing extensively on the looks aspects. Now, that's not to say that looks are not important, because I do think for whatever your body is, I think you need to figure out whatever the best haircut look is, whether it's for me, I typically keep my hair cut short because I'm kind of going bald here. So I typically cut my hair short every 2 weeks. I find clothes that are fitting. I'm right now at 173 pounds. I should be 168 pounds, but I keep myself relatively in the fit range. But I recognize that those things are important, but it's more of a thing the baseline of how we look is not as important as the baseline of our personality, of how we talk to women, of how we're treating them. And here's the thing. Also, a thing that's important to women is is the guy going to be a pushover? Because we think if we're just constantly catering to women and, just letting them walk all over us or saying yes to or whatever, that's really, really attractive. But that makes us look like people that are needy and that are desperate. And you can have a guy that's the most attractive guy in the world, but if he's coming off across as needy and desperate, he loses a few points on the attractive scale for women. Whereas you could have an average looking guy like me. I think I'm going to be biased. I feel I'm slightly, if I was on a scale of 0 to 10, I'd put myself at 6.5. I'm pretty decent enough. But if you have the right social skills, if you know how to make women laugh, if you're a confident guy, if you have, your money in the bank, if you have, if you have your life set up in a way to whereby she can look at you and say, this guy has a pretty stable lifestyle. He knows how to take care of himself. He takes care of home. He has a car. He knows how to treat others pretty well. That's going to measure higher on the importance scale than your actual appearance. But all that said, when you're just walking around in public, She doesn't know this stuff about you. So you want to make sure that you're doing things like, figuring out what your actual fit is of stuff. I recommend this because I did this a couple years ago. I actually hired somebody to take me out and take me shopping. I said, hey, I need a new look. I need to figure out what's going to look good for my body. I'm not the best at being able to pick out the kind of shirts I should wear, the kind of pants I should wear, because I'll just wear the same clothes every day. I'm wearing sweatpants right now. You can't see it. I'm wearing sweatpants. If I could, I'd wear sweatpants and a regular ass shirt every day. But I know going out in public, if I'm trying to attract women that are going to be looking around at all these other guys, how am I going to make myself stand out? So if I'm going to the store, for example, and there's a guy in a t-shirt, another guy in a t-shirt, another guy in a t-shirt, and I'm wearing this nice collared shirt, who's going to stand out to a woman? Who's going to be one that she's going to be less apprehensive about if I should decide to approach? The guy that's done up the best he possibly can be. So you want to look the best you can for who you are and then really focus on the social skills. Because she could look at you and say, okay, he's attractive enough to where if he approached, I wouldn't turn him away. But she's still going to look at, but then what's he going to say to me? How is he going to talk to me? What's his swag going to be like? And if that stuff's not in place, then your attractiveness is not going to help you. So hopefully, guy, that helps you out. Definitely be aware of how you look aesthetically. Make sure you have the right smells and stuff like that with colognes and whatnot. But definitely work more on the things that are going to attract women and keep them around, the kind of conversations they're interested in, how to have masculine conversation with the female, but also more importantly, how to be able to take in their feminine conversation and not feel like you're annoyed by it. Because a lot of men make the mistake of they want women to be feminine women, but then they come around them trying to talk like they're females, and then we get annoyed. Oh, that's so girly, blah, 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 blah. Well, you got to learn to deal with their feminine communication, just like they got to learn to deal with our masculine communication, all right? So work on those things, and you should be going in the right direction. So hopefully, guys, this helps you out. For more of these shows, go to introvertdatingsuccess.com. Also go to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/HarryWilmington, and feel free to subscribe. Like I said, the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy will be dropping on November 1st. It's going to be available for a low monthly fee, so definitely get yourself in the wait list for that now. I'm going to start sending things to people's email boxes, just like little snippets of things that I'm going to be putting in the program. But this membership site, I'm telling you, it's going to be hours upon hours of stuff to whereby anything you're having problems with in the dating world, you'll be able to get it in this program and learn about it and have it not be a problem anymore. Real talk. So anyway, thank you so much, guys, for watching. As always, I'm Harry Wilmington, and I will catch you guys on the next show. I'm out. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Introvert Dating Success Podcast. Visit us at introvertdatingsuccess.com for more great tips on attracting women using your natural introvert charm. Oh, yeah.